Phew, thank God the girl I fell in love with isn't actually crazy and I don't have to deal with her eating disorder and mental illness. My girlfriend isn't actually crazy. Yay! Welcome to another roast video or rant video or deep dive or however you want to call it. This time it is going to be about Layla by Colleen Hoover. This is, I don't even know what genre this is. Thriller? Suspense? I picked this book up because my friend Sarah had randomly messaged me and said, hey, if you are gonna read another Colleen Hoover book, it should be Layla. And she didn't elaborate any further. And I was like, okay, bet. And you know what? She was right. It was indeed a wild roller coaster of a story. At least we can credit Colleen Hoover for writing an entertaining book. So the book Layla actually follows a guy named Leeds who falls in love with a woman named Layla. In fact, he's so in love that he's convinced that he's gonna spend the rest of his life with her. He sees a future with her. He is just so swept up in his lust and love. They are just so down bad for each other at the start of their newly budding relationship. However, the book already starts off with a very precarious situation that they're in. He literally has her tied up to a bed with duct tape covering her mouth, and he has held her hostage, which is interesting because you could argue that in other rant videos I've done of other books, we seem to see a lot of female characters metaphorically being silenced and held hostage by their love interest. But now we're being literal this time around. So we have yet another book where the man ain't shit and women are either crazy or abused or both. I think the conclusion that we can draw from this book though is that it really ain't worth it to be with a man. I mean, if you're gonna end up locked in a bedroom with duct tape covering your mouth as you're begging and crying for your boyfriend to let you go, and it's not even in a kinky way, what are we doing over here? There's gotta be better, safer, and more fun ways to spend time in the bedroom. And you don't even need a man for that. All you need is toys by Lovehoney, which is the sponsor of today's video. I just got the 12-day Lovehoney Indulge calendar. 12 days means 12 premium toys and accessories. Everything here is over $275 worth of products, but now with this gift set, you can save over 54% for just $129. And I think what's exciting about this kind of product is that I can get the serotonin that comes with opening a little gift for myself every single day. For day 12, we got... oh, this is cute. This is the Venus Glow. I love that it looks just like a clamshell. Let's see day 5. We got a mini wand over here. Very cute and easy to pack around. Day 1, we got a USB rechargeable bullet. So this is compatible with 3 toys inside for all kinds of sensations. I really like that these 3 are all very different so far, especially the Venus Glow. So if you're interested in the 12-day calendar, I'll have a link in my description and you can use my discount code CindyAdvent for just a little something extra. Now let's get back to the video. The way that the book begins is literally with the main guy named Leeds Gabriel trapping his girlfriend Layla in his bedroom, having her tied up to the bed, being held hostage with duct tape over her mouth. We start off with him leaving her in that room and going downstairs to do an interview with a detective and telling him how he met Layla and everything that led up to this interview. If this were a movie, I could see a freeze frame happening right when he puts the duct tape on her mouth as she's screaming and he's like, so you're probably wondering how I ended up here. It's a funny story actually. And then we go back to the beginning on the day that he met Layla. They met last summer when he was the bass player in the band that played her sister's wedding. And that's really the first red flag here, that he's a bass player. If the duct tape wasn't enough, that should do it. The gag is he doesn't even like the music that the band is playing. He literally thinks every show eats away at my soul. A nibble here, a nibble there. And you know what's funny is that this is metaphorically true for me as well when I read this book. He notices Layla at the wedding because she's a bad dancer in an endearing way. Later, they settle down at the bed and breakfast after the wedding's over and he finds her at the pool. Their first conversation starts with her asking him this question. Do you ever watch those YouTube videos of people dying inside? Wait a minute. Is this book about me? The metaphors are getting too real here. They're compilations of embarrassing things that happen to people. The camera always zooms in on people's faces at the worst moment. Their expressions make it look like they're dying inside. That's what you look like up there tonight, like you were dying inside. To which he replies, I'm already dead inside. Died the first night I started playing for the band. She asks him, you got a girlfriend? No. Boyfriend? No. Wife? I shake my head. Do you have friends, at least? Not really, I admit. Siblings? Only child. Shit, you're lonely. Another accurate assessment, although in my case, lonely is a choice. Who is the most important person in your life, she asks. Parents don't count. Right now? She nods. Yes, right now, who is the most important person in your life? I reflect on her question for a moment and realize there's no one I'd take a bullet for other than my mom. I'm indifferent toward the guys in my band. They're more like coworkers I have nothing in common with. And since parents don't count, this girl's literally the only person on my mind right now. I guess you, I say. Usually what's interesting about a story is seeing how a character starts off so differently in a strange situation and going back to the beginning and seeing how you got from point A to point B. Usually we don't see the signs right away. But already we're seeing what a riveting protagonist and love interest this guy is that we're following in this book and reading from his perspective the entire time. I can't wait for the future ahead of us. He has such an expansive background and family lore and so many things going on for him. What a fully fleshed character that we're already diving into. They are hanging out at the pool and Layla gives him a little tablet for a drug that he can take. He immediately feels the effects right away and he starts feeling really, really good. That leads to them making out, and it is described so passionately like this. We kiss for the next several minutes. We more than kiss. We touch. We move. We moan. And then it turns out that she didn't actually give him any drugs. It was just aspirin. But somehow he got high off of just sheer horniness alone. And with writing like this, who can blame him? Then they go inside his room and they start to undress, and he takes this moment to admire her body and immediately compare her to his ex-girlfriend. My last girlfriend had a body that could rival a supermodel's, but she was never comfortable with herself. It became one of the things that irritated me about her because no matter how beautiful she was, her insecurity was the loudest thing about her. Yeah, how dare she have insecurities that the patriarchy inflicted upon her and pressured her to try to please a man. That does not please me, a man. In the bed and breakfast, there is also a grand room that has a piano. So Layla makes Leeds play and sing. This time, not the band's music, but his own. What if you don't like my music? I ask. Will you still let me kiss you? Does the song mean something to you? I wrote it using pieces of my soul. Whoa, your soul? That's pretty intense. What could those soul-bearing lyrics possibly be? That night, I stopped believing in heaven. I can't believe in a God that cruel. Can you? That night, I stopped praying on my knees, but I don't pray standing either. Do you? That night, I closed the door and closed the window. I've been sitting in the dark. Are you? That night, I learned happiness is a fairy tale, 1,000 pages read aloud. By you. That night I stopped believing in God. You were ours. He didn't care. He took you. So that night I stopped ... I stopped ... I just stopped. That night I stopped. I stopped. I just stopped. That night I stopped. I ... Wow, she whispers. I wasn't expecting that. I feel like you just stomped on my chest. I like how it ends. You just stop in the middle of the sentence. It's so perfect. So powerful. Girl, have you never heard of a metaphor? If I were her right now, I'd just be like, wow, I love how you sing about how you just stopped because I wish you would. So then they start kissing, and at some point, Layla says, Aspen warned me earlier tonight when she saw me staring at you. She said, promise me you'll stay away from the musicians. They probably have chlamydia. I laugh. Did you promise her you stay away from me? No. I said, it's fine if he has chlamydia. He probably has condoms too. I don't have chlamydia, but I also don't have a condom. Wow. So romantic. Truly the representation of modern dating we have right here. The gag is, there really are people who are getting laid this exact way. And so of course, the two of them end up having sex after, fortunately, finding a condom. So at least we don't have to worry about them repopulating. Afterward, they bask in post-sex glow, and Layla says, I'd kill for a taco right now. I've never wanted inside a girl's mind more than I want inside Layla's. Her mind doesn't work like other minds work. Wow, she said she wanted a taco after having sex. Phew. What a whirlwind of a woman. He truly found the belle of the ball. The Taco Bell of the ball, you could say. What's next? Is she also gonna want some chips and dip after he dips his chip in her dip? And then she suddenly asks, are you religious? Her thoughts are as sporadic and intense as her actions. I think that's why I'm so intrigued by her. One minute, she's on her back screaming my name as she digs her nails into my shoulders. The next minute, she's on her stomach telling me how badly she's craving a taco. The next minute, she forgets about the tacos and wants to know if I'm religious. I love it. I too love a multifaceted character. It's like, damn, we really have the duality of women here. Can she really have it all? Can a woman be interested in talking about more than one thing? And so from that question, they start talking about the idea of an afterlife. Layla says that she sees existence as more like realms, and maybe heaven is just one of those realms, or maybe it isn't. Think of it like this, she says. The womb is one existence. As a fetus, we didn't remember life before the womb, and we had no idea if there would be life after the womb. All we knew was the womb. But then we were born, and we left the womb and came into our current realm of existence. And now we can't remember being in the womb before this life, and we have no idea what comes after this life. And when our current life ends, we'll be in a different realm altogether, where we might not remember this realm of existence, just like we don't recall being in the womb. It's just different realms, one after the other after the other. Some we know for a fact exist, some we only believe exist. There could be realms of existence we've never even entertained the idea of. They could be endless. I don't think we ever really die. Her explanation makes sense. Or maybe I'm just feeling agreeable because my mouth is on her breast. Yeah, that's definitely it, because I am personally not high enough to be listening to all of that. I do think though that it would be funny if she ended that whole monologue being like, yeah, the womb is a realm and we're in one realm and we're gonna go to another womb and another existence, and that is why I really want Taco Bell. So after that whirlwind of a romance, they decide to spend 3 extra days at the bed and breakfast to continue spending time together, because despite the weird ass dialogue and banter that they have, they are very smitten with each other and they don't want to be apart. Then we cut to present day, where Layla is being held against her will by her own boyfriend. She is tied by rope on the bedpost for who knows how long, but clearly long enough for her to have been constantly pulling at it and trying to escape, to the point where her wrists are bleeding. Leeds takes off the duct tape from her mouth and she begs him to untie her. He thinks about how he doesn't want to do this, but he has no other choice. So he tells her, just give me a couple hours. When I'm finished talking to the detective, I will bring you downstairs with me. And she says, you're a liar. All you do is lie. He presses a kiss against the top of her head and says that if she promises not to scream, he won't put the duct tape back on. Then when he leaves and closes the door, he can hear her cry. Again, very mysterious situation going on. We follow him going back to the detective who is recording the interview, and it's implied that Leeds is desperate for help, and that's why the detective is here. And so he tells the guy that they spent 4 days at the bed and breakfast, and then he invited her to come stay a week with him in Tennessee. 1 week turned into 2, then 6, then 8, to the point where 2 months after they had been spending time together, they both told each other that they love each other. So everything truly felt perfect for those first 2 months, until Sable happened. What the hell is a Sable, you might ask? Sable is Leeds' ex-girlfriend. 2 months after they met and started being more intimate with each other, there's a day where Leeds posts a picture of him and Layla on Instagram where she is asleep on his chest, basically hard launching their relationship on social media. After that, Layla got over 20 messages on her Instagram, all from a girl named Sable. Layla just tells this person to get a life and blocks her, but she does ask Leeds about this person. Leeds explains that they had only dated for a couple of months. He actually thought that the first time he met Sable was organic, but then he found out that in actuality, she ran a fan club for him that she had started a year before they met. And when he tried to break it off, she didn't take it very well, and she would make a bunch of incessant phone calls and messages and voicemails, even showing up to his shows and demanding him to give her another chance. So he and the guy started calling her Unstable Sable. And ever since then, he has had her blocked. But despite that, obviously she is still checking up on him because now she's harassing Layla. Later that day, he's finishing up a shower when he hears someone knock on the door. He hears Layla say that she's gonna go get it. Then, just moments later, he hears pop, pop. He runs out of the bathroom to see what's going on. He discovers Layla's body bleeding on the floor. Layla, I whisper right before feeling a sting in my shoulder. Everything after that is a blur, a nightmare. Everything stops. It just stops. It just ... The chapter ends right there, before the sentence even finishes. Do you guys get it? Like the parallels between the super deep lyrics that he shared earlier in this book and now? You see how it was like a callback to that, and how it's like life imitates art? It's really nuanced and subtle for people who aren't able to pick that up. But you see this? Goosebumps right here. Then we go to present day, where Leeds reveals to the detective that Sable has shown up to his apartment and shot Layla over an Instagram post, and she doesn't get arrested, but he doesn't want to tell the detective why yet. Sable had also shot him, but he was okay enough to call 911 and have them take him and Layla to surgery. He then takes a break to go upstairs to check on Layla again. She's thirsty, so he has to go pick up a glass of water and let her drink from it because, you know, she's all tied up, so it's kind of hard to hydrate yourself. She should also eat though, so he asked her what does she want him to bring to her, and she's like, I don't know, Leeds, it's kind of hard to see what's in the fridge when I'm tied to a fucking bed. And he's like, I can make you a sandwich. And she's like, how about you untie me so I can make it myself? He goes to make a sandwich and then comes back upstairs, and he even generously offers to untie her so that she can eat the sandwich. But she better not try to run this time. He tells her if she does, you know it won't work, and we will find out why later in this book. He also applies first aid to Layla's wrists between her bites of food and then ties her back to bed. The whole time he's thinking about how he hates himself for this. So there's clearly some kind of like inner turmoil going on. He then goes back to the detective to continue when he woke up from the surgery and had to recover and call Layla's mom and sister to tell them what happened, and had to be interrogated by the police and all of the other logistical stuff that happens when you go through a very traumatic incident like that. But aside from the survival and recovery, shit started really hitting the fan when they returned to the bed and breakfast where they had first met. And this was something that they decided because he wanted to get Layla out of Tennessee once the doctors gave her the clear. So this was a chance for them to get away from, you know, the bad memories of what happened. And she loves the place where they had met. At least she used to love it. And one could say that maybe she stopped loving it the day he brought her back. All right, so let's return to the main story when we are back at the bed and breakfast. The chapter starts off with Leeds eating a strand of Layla's hair. At this point, I'm just like, sure, whatever. He does it because he had a dream that swallowing a piece of her hair had tethered them together somehow and then they wouldn't be apart. So he woke up and he plucked a strand from her head while she slept and put it in his mouth. Honestly, I'm not gonna drag him for this because I'm sure when you've been through trauma and the fear of nearly losing your loved one, you probably do some wacky shit. So who am I to judge? What I will drag him for is his lyrics. My heart is choking. That would make a good lyric. I open my phone while we wait in line to board the plane and I type, my heart chokes on its own guilt, into my notes beneath several other dismal lyrics I've pulled from random thoughts. My lyrics have really taken a depressing turn lately. Yeah, that is some depressing shit. Not in the way that you think though. If anything, it really goes to show how trauma is not a requirement to make good art. So in his suitcase for the trip, he also is hiding a ring that he bought for her. He doesn't necessarily plan to propose. It was more so a purchase that he made when she was still in the hospital, and he thought buying the ring might put some kind of energy out into the universe that would make her recover faster, but there is no plan to propose yet. I have this notion that if I take us back to the starting line, we'll never cross the finish line. Another potential lyric. I type a tweaked version of that sentence into my notes. I keep running back to the starting line because I don't want to be finished with you. You know, it's lyrics like these that actually make me think him tying her to the bedpost and leaving the room that often is actually a kind gesture. Imagine if he had tied her to the bedpost and kept on reading his lyrics to her. Now that would have been true torture, like inhumane CIA type of torture right there. We desperately need this trip. We need the privacy, a break from the outside world. I just want to go back to how it all was in the beginning. Just the two of us, locked up in the bedroom, having the best and most random conversations between rounds of sweaty sex. I really gotta commend the author for accurate male representation. Because what the hell do you mean that your girlfriend just barely recovered from the hospital and all you're concerned about is having several rounds of sweaty sex again? God forbid a bitch recovers for a second. Keep in mind she's been dealing with issues like her confidence, security, anxiety, night terrors, panic attacks, memory loss, and even brain damage because now it takes her a little longer to recall things. So during the flight, he reveals to Layla that their surprise trip is going to be at the bed and breakfast, which actually shut down 3 months ago. He had emailed the realtor to ask to rent it for a couple of weeks and have the place to themselves. Her sister and brother-in-law also want to come stay over for a night since they are a couple hours nearby. Side note, while we're talking about them, her sister is named Aspen and the husband is named Chad Kyle. Yes, literally Chad Kyle. He is a frat boy with a country club membership. He was a quarter-ton pickup. He's got a dog named Bo. I can't believe I'm saying this, but surely white men can have more depth than this, right? I don't know. Is this like an offensive caricature to them? Like, are we diluting their humanity into a stereotype here? Much to think about as we weigh the implications origins of a character named Chad Kyle. Leeds and Layla arrive to the bed and breakfast, or now a vacant 2-story mansion in the country. From the day that they get there, Layla is not feeling it. She says that she's cold and her head hurts, and so she's gonna take a nap, but she has trouble remembering where their room is. So she goes upstairs to the bathroom, and then suddenly she just screams. He runs up and then sees her knuckles are all bloody and asks what happened. And she's like, I don't know, I was just washing my hands and the mirror shattered. So he gets the first aid kit and cares for her wounds. And then later, another weird thing that happens is that when he's cooking, he steps out of the kitchen to tend to Layla. He hears a crash from the kitchen. He comes back and the soup that he was making is just everywhere. There's also a bunch of smoke, but no fire. He tries to turn the burner off, but then realizes that it wasn't even on. It had gotten switched to the off position already, but also the sink is on with the water that's running, and at the bottom of the sink is a burnt rag. Now he's confused because nobody was in the kitchen. Over the next couple of days, more strange things happen. So for example, there's a day where Layla is picking at her pasta and barely eating it because she's been very conscious about her weight. Now she picks out anything but carbs. A few minutes later, all of a sudden she looks down at her pasta and it's like, this pasta smells so good. And then she starts sniffing it and closing her eyes, and she takes like a big bite and she's like groaning. It's like, oh my God, it's so good. She keeps shoveling it down and being like, I want more. And then she eats like the whole bowl, and then she closes her eyes and groans, leans forward, puts her hand on her forehead. Then she opens her eyes at this empty bowl and she makes a horrified face and is like, Leeds? My food is gone. And he's like, yeah, you can have more if you want. But she still looks freaked out. She scoots away from the table and leaves the kitchen, saying she must have eaten too fast and now she's feeling nauseous. She goes upstairs and starts rifling through the dresser drawers to find her Xanax. It's just really weird behavior. Later in the middle of the night, he feels her leaving the bed while they're trying to sleep, and then he sees her go over to the mirror to just stare at herself. And she kind of like turns left and right, almost like she's inspecting herself, and she puts her finger on the mirror and like traces the outline of her body. And so he's like, Layla? And then she jumps and looks kind of embarrassed as if she were caught in something. And she slips back to bed and is like, go back to sleep. I'm fine. And he's like, okay, that was weird. Obviously, he can't fall back asleep though, because that was some weird shit that happened. So what does he do? He writes more lyrics. I'd feel nothing if you punched me in the heart. I'd feel even less if you stabbed me with a knife. But I didn't fall out of love with you. I fell out of love with life. Girl, whatever. I'm gonna cut him some slack since he's dealing with trauma and possibly a ghost in the house. Speaking of which, he uses his laptop to email the realtor of the mansion because he is considering buying the place. Before he can send the email, his laptop suddenly slams shut right on top of his hands, and this freaks him out. Throws the laptop to the ground and runs back to the bedroom and forces himself to sleep because he's like, I probably am just super sleep deprived. The next morning when he gets up, he finds his laptop sitting on the kitchen table, even though he knows he threw it on the floor of the grand room last night. He opens the laptop where the Word document is there from when he wrote his lyrics. This time, something new has been written on the second page. The words, I'm sorry I scared you. He asks Layla if she used his laptop. She says no. Later on, he buys cameras and puts them in the kitchen and the grand room. The cameras are connected to an app on his phone, so anytime there's movement, he's gonna get a notification. He also does not tell Layla about it. Later on, he falls asleep on the couch, and when he wakes up, there is a blanket over him, even though he doesn't remember covering himself up with it. He checks the camera and sees that Layla had put the blanket over him. Pretty normal. The only weird thing though is that after she put the blanket, her eyes went straight to the camera and she stares at it for a really long time, like 15 seconds. And then she just walks away. Later at 4:29 a.m. in the morning, the camera footage goes black. He goes and checks it and it's pointed towards the wall now, which is weird because it's not like the camera can just turn itself when there was no one else in the room other than him. He then goes online and posts in a forum that is dedicated to talking about paranormal activities and shares what happened. Someone asks if he's tried talking to the ghost yet. So in the grand room where he's alone, he whispers, is someone here? Nothing happens until he walks toward the door and hears one of the piano keys play. So he checks the camera app and to watch the playback and confirms one of the piano keys did indeed play itself. He walks to the piano and says, do that again. A few seconds pass, but then the same key plays itself again. And so he tells the ghost to press the C key for yes, the D key for no, and the A key if they don't know the answer. And then he asks a bunch of questions. Are you dangerous? No. Are you a ghost? I don't know. Are you dead? I don't know. Do you know me? No. Can you show yourself to me? No. Is it because you don't know how to? Yes. Do you have a name? Yes. What is it? Obviously, the ghost can't answer on the key, so he pulls out his laptop where the Word document is. Letters start typing to spell one word: Willow. Later that day, Aspen and Chad Kyle come visit for dinner. Layla has a moment again where she takes a huge bite of the pizza and is moaning about how good it is and starts shoveling it in her mouth. Aspen is like, girl, you're being gross, use a fork. Then Layla looks suddenly apologetic and embarrassed. Then she puts her hand to her forehead again. It's like, oh God, my head hurts. And she lowers her hand, opens her eyes, and suddenly screams. Everyone's like, oh my God, what is going on? She just shakes her head but doesn't say anything while staring at her empty plate. And she stands back up, backs away in terror. Leeds is like, Layla, are you okay? She's like, I don't feel well. I'm gonna go inside. She tries to look for her Xanax again. Leeds is like, what's wrong? Do you think you ate too fast? And Layla's like, I didn't eat. And then Layla ends up sleeping it off. Aspen and Chad Kyle head out to run an errand. Leeds reviews the camera footage and notices how right before Layla starts acting strange, her posture just changes. Plus the fact that she says she didn't eat even though she clearly did minutes ago. So he places his laptop and opens the Word document and types, was that you? The laptop types back and says yes. And he's like, oh my God, all those times when Layla was staring at herself in the dark or shoveling food in her mouth like she hadn't eaten for months, and even the moment today, none of those moments were Layla. He types, I want to be able to have a real conversation with you. Layla comes downstairs and he notices she's acting differently. She's looking at him as if she doesn't know him and is feeling scared. And he's like, Willow? And she nods her head. He's trying to figure out if he's going crazy or not. Willow asks for some juice. He's like, yeah, go ahead. She gets the juice and drinks it and she's like, oh my God, this is so good. And he's like, do you do this a lot? No, I need a body to do that. I don't like using Layla's body unless I have to. It's a little weird. A little? My normal and your normal aren't the same. What's your normal? Nothing. What do you mean? My normal is nothing. I just ... exist. But I don't exist. I don't know. It's hard to explain. Are you a ghost? I don't know. How long have you been here? I don't know. Time is weird. It's like it doesn't count for me. I once stared at a clock on the wall in the living room for 8 calendar days just to see how long I could stare at the wall. You don't sleep? Nope, don't sleep, but I'm always tired. Don't eat, but I'm always hungry. I can't drink, but I'm always thirsty. I'm starting to think maybe this is hell because there's nothing worse than being eternally hungry. Are there others here like you? Not in this house. I'm alone. Can you leave? I don't know. I'm too scared to try. What are you scared of? Other things like myself, maybe? A ghost afraid of other ghosts? So then he asks if she's afraid of him, and she's like, I don't know, I don't think so, but it could just be that I'm inside Layla's body right now, so I feel some of her feelings, and you make her feel comfortable. He asks her what does she look like when she's not inside Layla. She says she doesn't look like anything because she doesn't exist in physical form. She can't see anything when she looks in the mirror. It's like she's nothing, just thoughts and feelings. Unfortunately, their conversation cuts short when they hear Aspen and Chad Kyle come back from their errand, so Willow has to leave, but Lise is like, I want to keep talking to her and find out what's going on. But at the same time, I don't think it's a good idea to tell Layla about this, so it'll be just between me and Willow. After that, they try talking using the Messenger app, with Lise using his cell phone and Willow using his laptop. While they're talking on Messenger, Layla comes in and says that she wants to get out of the house to feel better. They decide to get tacos for dinner. Lise tells Willow, and Willow types, tacos sounds so good. Lise types back and asks, want me to bring you some? You could eat it tonight after Layla falls asleep, to which Willow types, you're okay with me using Layla again? I shouldn't be okay with it, but it doesn't seem to be harming Layla in any way. If anything, she's getting some much needed calories from it. Sure, tacos are important. You want beef or chicken? Surprise me. I close the laptop and head upstairs, skipping every other step. I'm looking forward to spending the day with Layla, but I think I'm looking more forward to talking to Willow again tonight. I don't know what's worse here. Starting an emotional relationship with another woman who's taking over the body of your girlfriend, neither of you telling her, you justifying that it's fine because she needs more calories, or the fact that this affair is happening over tacos. That was the very food that made you fall in love with her in the first place. Because as we know, loving tacos is somehow a personality trait. Now you're gonna do the same thing with a new girl? Layla was supposed to be your Taco Bell, and now you're gonna guac and roll with some other hoe? You sick fuck. Lise and Layla go get taco and margaritas, and when they head back, the sun is setting and Layla wants to sit outside and watch it and just enjoy herself. Meanwhile, Lise keeps checking the time on his phone like he has somewhere to be. He just wants Layla to go to sleep so he can talk to Willow again. Layla starts getting frisky with him because the margaritas are kicking in. Even though Lise is kissing her back, he thinks about how he's supposed to want this, but he just feels impatient. When she feels him down there, she realizes that he's not hard like he usually is when they have kissed before, and she's like, you okay? And he's like, yeah, I'm good. There's just a rock or something digging into my back. Maybe we can finish this later in the bedroom. And she's like, all right, let's just do it now. So they go inside and he's thinking, uh-oh, I don't want Willow to see this. He suggests going upstairs into the bedroom where he knows Willow will give them privacy, because something that he had asked her before is like, oh, how often are you watching us? And she's like, well, you know, around the grand room, around the kitchen, but when you two are in the bedroom, I don't go there. And so that's why, you know, he wants them to go up there. At that point, he starts feeling in the mood because he realizes Layla is laughing and being drunk and carefree like she used to be when she was a chill girl, and he really misses that. So they have sex and she's moaning super loud, and he puts his hand over her mouth to stifle the sound. Even when he comes, he makes sure not to make any noise because he doesn't want Willow hearing this. After sex though, instead of feeling satisfied, he is still feeling impatient because he wants to go downstairs and talk to Willow. Layla goes to shower and he's like, man, normally 4 margaritas would be enough for her to call it an early night, but she slept in until 11 a.m. this morning and a shower is gonna wake her up. Now she's probably gonna come out and ask to binge watch an entire Netflix show, and it could be hours before she falls asleep. Ugh, don't you hate it when your girlfriend wants to spend time with you and you can't talk to your sexy ghost friend instead? Ugh, so annoying. Women, am I right? While she's in the shower, he goes downstairs to the kitchen to make a glass of wine for her, hoping that it will make her sleepier, and mixing ambient in it to give it, you know, an extra effect to really knock her the fuck out. Then the glass gets knocked from his grip and shatters, and he realizes that Willow saw what he was doing and stopped him. Then he starts feeling ashamed because apparently men can't have a moral compass unless their sexy ghost helps them. Fortunately for him, Layla does end up falling asleep, so Leeds slips out of the bed. By the time he gets to the kitchen, he actually finds that it has all been cleaned up by Willow. Willow enters in the kitchen in Layla's body and tells him what he did was dangerous. She's already drunk. You're trying to mix wine and Ambien with it, and what if she would have taken another pill on top of all of that? That was really dangerous, you know, on top of your girlfriend literally recovering from shit. He's like, I know, I wasn't thinking, I was acting on impulse. And Willow says, if your need to speak to me makes you act on impulse like that, I'm not sure it's such a good idea that we do this anymore. To which Leeds replies that he would never do anything to intentionally hurt Layla and it will not happen again. Willow is like, okay, good. And then she asks if they can go swimming. He gets her Layla's swimsuit to change into, and when she comes out, he can't help but have his eyes wander down her body and feel enthralled by the fact that it's not her body, but she makes it her own somehow with her long strides and her shoulders set back and just like a different posture than normal. So it's like he's checking out his girlfriend, but he's not really checking out his girlfriend. They go to the pool, and since Willow can experience vague memories and feelings of Layla inside her body, she says that Layla fell in love with Leeds in this very pool. Then she turns away and starts tearing up, but she doesn't know why. She doesn't know if it means Layla is sad or if she is sad, or like why would she even be sad in the first place. Leeds also feels conflicted because when Layla is sad, he wants to comfort her and hug her and kiss away the pain, but Willow isn't Layla, so you know the lines are getting blurry. They leave the pool and watch a movie together. The movie that she decides to watch is called Ghost, the one with Patrick Swayze. Why the fuck not, I guess. Subtlety has never been a strong feature in these books. Leeds feels the urge to kiss her while they're watching the movie because sometimes he forgets that Willow isn't Layla while she's using her body. At least that's what he tells himself. With all of these conflicting feelings, he leaves for a moment to check the paranormal forum on his laptop and sees that the person who has suggested he communicate with the ghost had actually sent Leeds a private message to get an update. And the internet guy says he wants to help this ghost find answers. After that, Leeds convinces Layla that they should stay longer at the house before going home. Next time he hangs out with Willow in Layla's body, she remembers hearing his songs and asks to hear more, so he plays it on his phone and she says that his voice is haunting. Get it? Because she's a ghost that watches the movie Ghost. There's really so many layers to the story here, you know? She's in a good mood. She's almost always in a good mood, even when she's upset with me for almost drugging my girlfriend or for continuously insisting she should find out why she's here. It's like whiplash going from Layla, who feels so heavy, to Willow, who's like a gust of wind. Yeah, Willow is so much more of a chill girlfriend compared to Layla. What a drag, am I right? It's like just because you got shot in the head and had a painful recovery and now you're dealing with a ghost possessing your body every night doesn't mean you should be such a fucking bummer. Willow then asked him to play a song for her on the piano in the grand room, so he begins to play one called No Vacancy. I showed up rich while feeling poor. I didn't knock, but they opened the door. Throwing stones, they pierced my eye, leaving tiny cracks all down my spine. We were royalty without a throne. Our castle didn't feel like a home. Echoes of I love you in the halls, our words absorbed into the walls. I checked us in so we couldn't leave. Thought maybe time would make me believe if I took us back to the starting line, we'd never cross the finish line. My hands may not be red, but my heart, it feels the bleed. If my soul had a neon sign, it would read no vacancy. If my soul had a neon sign, it would read no vacancy. You let me know what your favorite lyrics are in this book. It's hard to pick. There's so many bangers out there. And you know, with the Colleen Hoover universe expanding into movie adaptations now, if this were to get a movie adaptation, imagine original soundtrack with these very lyrics. That would be quite haunting indeed. After that, they start talking about the mechanics of what it's like to be in Layla's head. Willow says that even though Layla is supposed to have lost a lot of her memories, when Willow is inside her head, there are actually too many memories for her to process. It's like they all overlap, so it's hard for her to sift through them. But because they aren't Willow's thoughts, out of privacy, she just mostly tries to ignore them. At some point, thunder strikes, which makes Willow flinch. The lights go out and Leeds hears her call his name, and he rubs her arms and is like, it's okay, the power just went out. It'll probably kick back on in a second. Then she steps back and she's like, what is going on? Where are we? And he realizes that Layla has returned back to her body and has no idea why she's in the kitchen. Before she can freak out any further, Willow returns back to her body and is like, sorry, the lightning startled me. I must have accidentally slipped out of her. Now she's worried that by tomorrow, Layla will remember suddenly transporting to a different room entirely. Leeds squeezes her hand and is like, hey, it's okay. I'll just pass it off like it was a nightmare or that she was just half asleep. Basically, he's like, don't worry, babe. I will gaslight my girlfriend for you. That's the thing that we get to do in these books. We just gaslight each other the whole time. And the next day, he indeed is able to convince Layla that she was half asleep when the power went out, and when he made her go to the kitchen with him, she didn't fully wake up until the lightning struck. So Willow continues to use her body after that. Layla isn't so much suspicious about this as she is concerned about why she's so tired all the time. She doesn't know that Willow is using her body at night, which means that she's not getting as much sleep as she thought she was getting. So she would wake up confused as to why she slept in so late when she was going to bed early. And she starts thinking that it might be related to her head injury. Keep in mind, Leeds does not tell her anything otherwise. He just lets her believe it, and he even goes along with it and says that he'll make an appointment to see the neurologist. Obviously, that's not going to happen now on account of him tying her up in the bedroom in present day. The detective even asks him, why didn't you just tell Willow to stop when you realized it began to affect Layla? I didn't want her to stop. Because you were trying to help Willow? I wish I could say yes to that, but I shake my head. We just fell into a routine, I think. It went on for days. Layla would fall asleep at night and Willow would take over. We'd watch movies. I'd cook for her. She'd read a book on the couch while I worked on music. There wasn't a good reason for us to do it, ... We still weren't using the time together to search for answers. We just enjoyed each other's company. How does Willow feel about the part she plays in this? She feels terrible. We both do. Yet you continue to do it? Is it fair to assume this continued because you started to develop feelings for Willow? I can't even say yes out loud. Instead, I just nod. Back to the story, they're supposed to check out in 2 days and head back home. Layla has been very cheerful about this, but Leeds and Willow have not been. So, you know, that kind of dampens the emotional affair a little bit. At some point when Leeds is at the piano and being contemplative, one of the piano keys plays itself and he realizes Willow is trying to get his attention. So he opens his laptop and she immediately types, I have bad news. Layla just found the ring. She put it back immediately and texted Aspen about it. So he's like, shit, because he doesn't even feel ready to propose. This trip was supposed to bring them closer together, but he feels even more distant than he did the day that they arrived. I wonder whose fault is that? Probably not relevant, but whatever. So Willow says that she feels guilty for inserting herself into this, and she's like, you know, I can stop if you want to spend these last 2 days with Layla. I can disappear and you won't even know I'm here. But he's like, that's what I've been afraid you'll do. And so he closes the laptop because he wants to talk to Layla. However, she is now in a very good mood with this new assumption about being proposed to, and she wants him to take a shower with her. He's like, I already took a shower this morning. And she's like, okay, I'll shower then after I'm done with you. She drops to her knees and she's ready to give him the sucky. And now he's conflicted because they haven't had sex in 3 days and he can't come up with a good enough excuse to refuse a sucky without hurting her feelings. She thinks we'll spend the rest of our lives together, me and Layla against the world. And maybe we will. I don't even know. But she's not really in a position in which we can discuss it because she's taking me into her mouth, despite the fact that I'm not even hard yet. I look down at her, and even though I'm not immediately turned on by this because of the pandemonium in my head, I can't help but think of Willow when I look at Layla. Sometimes when I look at Layla, I wish she were Willow. At breakfast, I catch myself wishing I were chatting with a cheerful Willow over coffee rather than Layla complaining about her headache. During the day when I'm chatting with Willow on the computer, I spend that time wishing she could take over Layla and I could talk to her face to face. And now, ... as Layla slides her tongue up the length of me, I kind of wish it were Willow doing this to me. I harden at that thought. It's easy to pretend Layla is Willow because Layla's face is the only one I can attribute Willow to when I think about her. I wrap my hand in Layla's hair and watch her for a moment, ... wondering what this would feel like if it were Willow inside of Layla right now. Would Willow use her tongue like that? Would she make the same noises Layla makes? For those of you watching at home, let's just take a moment to shake our heads disapprovingly together. In the next chapter, Willow reveals that she had learned she could move things as a ghost when she wanted to scare a man named Wallace Billings. He's the guy that had put up the house for sale in the first place, and she saw that he was being an asshole to his wife and to his kids, so she was doing that as like a prank on him. So they're laughing about this little anecdote, and Leeds asks why he wasn't haunted by her when he entered the place too. And she says that it's because he's not an asshole. And I'm like, debatable. She also says that she felt sorry for him because he seemed sad even when Layla was in the same room as him. Do you not enjoy being with her? She asked. I used to, but now it's ... complicated. A lot has changed between us since that night, since the shooting. We aren't the same couple we were in the beginning. She's been through a lot, physically, emotionally, mentally, and of course I would never give up on her, but ... But what? Sometimes I wonder if I would have met her today, ... how she is now, ... would I have fallen in love with her as easily as I fell in love with her in the beginning? I don't know. Part of me thinks maybe I wouldn't be able to fall in love with this version of her at all. And when I have those thoughts, ... it makes me feel like shit. Because I'm the reason she is the way that she is. I'm the reason she's so unhappy now, because I failed to protect her. Maybe things will eventually go back to exactly how they were in the beginning between you two. If it's any consolation, you don't seem as sad now, not like when you first showed up here. That has nothing to do with Layla and everything to do with you. What this book reminds me of, that I'm not sure if it was intentional on the author's part. I'm kind of skeptical of that because of how the book ends. But what it reminds me of is the statistics where men often leave their wives after she deals with illness or trauma. Because once shit really hits the fan and they have to take care of someone or deal with that person not being happy or bubbly or whatever anymore, they're bouncing out. And that's why I feel like Leeds is accurate representation of men who are like that. But what confuses me is that I'm not sure if that was the author's intention due to the narrative trying to paint him as a sympathetic protagonist rather than a purposely unlikable character, especially when we get into future developments later in the book. So at some point, Leeds is on his laptop and sees a message from the guy who was on the paranormal forum saying that he can help the ghosts at the bed and breakfast. Leeds doesn't know how this guy even knows where they're staying. He steps away to check the alarm system and the windows. And during this time, Willow looks at his laptop screen and sees the conversation. And she's like, why have you been talking to this guy? Do you want me out of the house? He says, no, this guy keeps contacting me and thinks he can help you. And Willow gets concerned because if she's a ghost due to unfinished business, what if she doesn't like what she finds out? And if she finishes her business, what if she doesn't like what's next for her? But at the same time, they both know that using Layla's body is wrong and detrimental to her, so they decide that he should message the guy back tomorrow. Willow is now very sad, and Leeds suggests that she goes to bed so that Layla can get some rest. Willow has to take off her clothes because Layla didn't go to bed with clothes on. Now they're in bed while Leeds is comforting Willow naked. He reveals to her that he put in an offer for the house. Their moment now becomes more emotionally charged because they both know that even if he gets the house and can visit, they're never going to be together unless they use Layla's body. They then start to kiss passionately yet sadly because neither person wants to leave. It is very tragic for these characters that I'm supposed to feel sorry for. Then the next time Leeds wakes up, he finds out that the realtor stopped by and gave the contract to Layla. So now she knows that he put in an offer. She gets upset by it and says she doesn't want to live in the middle of nowhere and he should have talked to her about things like this. And he says that it was supposed to be a surprise because they fell in love here and he thought this place meant something to them. She gets angry and she's like, I don't even like Kansas, because that's where the bed and breakfast is. She now starts packing to leave, which alerts him because he wants to see Willow again. So he tries to convince her that the engagement ring that she found was part of his plan to surprise her with the ring and the house and propose to her. And she's like, you're lying because I saw the receipt and you bought it 6 months ago while I was in the hospital. So that means that you spent 6 months doubting whether you even want to be with me, which is true, right? Because she has changed since the accident, which is why he's kind of falling out of love with her. And he gets so desperate to make sure that she stays so that he can see Willow that he blocks the doorway, kneels in front of her, and begs her not to go. He insists that he wants to marry her and had planned to propose at this house and that he wants to spend the rest of his life with her. So she's like, you haven't been doubting us? And he's like, no, not even for 1 second. Again, we know that this is a lie. But she's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry for ruining this. Yes, of course I'll marry you. They kiss and she's so happy now while he's thinking this is so far from what he wants. She goes away to call her sister, and while he's alone, he says out loud, I'm sorry, I had no other choice. But the room is silent, and neither his laptop nor his phone write anything back, and Willow doesn't speak to him at all. After their proposal, we later see Leeds criticizing Layla because she clearly has an eating disorder. You don't eat enough. My words come out harsher than I mean for them to. I've eaten enough enough to gain 3 pounds since we got here. I'm not just talking about these past 2 weeks. You barely get 800 calories a day, tops. It worries me. My body is used to 800 calories. I function just fine on that. No, you don't. You're always hungry. Layla laughs incredulously. You say that like you know my body better than I do. Keep in mind, he's not actually concerned that she is not feeding herself properly. He's just angry that Willow hasn't spoken to him since he gave Layla the ring. He's tried talking to Willow every time Layla leaves the room, but Willow doesn't respond. So he's like, ugh, yet another night I'll spend counting down the minutes until Layla falls asleep. He tells Layla that if he buys the house, they don't have to live here since he knows that she doesn't want to, and only visit this place when they need to check up on things like a vacation home. But if he does buy it, they will need to stay an extra week so that he can close on it and wrap things up. So she agrees to that, and of course, it's very convenient for him, right? So later that night, since he proposed to Layla, it only makes sense not to push her away when she wants to have sex. She even wants to do it wearing only her engagement ring. So he has to think about Willow again in order to get through it. Even when they cuddle after, he pretends that she's Willow. Half an hour after she falls asleep, Willow finally takes over Layla's body. She's staring down at Layla's ring, then she slips it off her finger and sets it on the nightstand. I don't like how it feels, she says. She pulls the covers up over her bare chest and reaches across her body to scratch her shoulder. There's an elegance to Willow, and it's my favorite physical difference between them. Attraction is strange. How can they use the same body, but my reaction to them is so different? How can sex with Layla earlier feel like a chore, but just looking at Willow feels like a reward? She's prettier when you're inside of her, I say. Let's just pause for a moment to sit with the audacity of this, because hello? It's the worst catch-22 imaginable. I can't break up with the girl I'm falling out of love with, or I won't get to spend time with the girl I'm falling in love with. Willow asks if this is her fault for inserting herself into their lives, because if she hadn't, maybe they would have actually been able to reconnect. It has nothing to do with you, Willow. I've seen Layla at her lowest points, and sometimes those low points are really, really low. At first, I blamed my fading feelings on the fact that our roles had changed so suddenly. I became her caretaker. I thought once she got better, things would change. But the further we got into her recovery, the more distant I started to feel. That isn't her fault. It isn't your fault. It's my fault. Well, at least he knows he's the one at fault, I guess, even though he's not actually doing anything about it. He also brings up his crazy ex-girlfriend. Sable was definitely upset by a picture I had posted with Layla, upset enough to reach out to Layla on social media, but the police said she had a long list of diagnoses, some of which stemmed from childhood: depression, bulimia, bipolar disorder, you name it, and she wasn't taking her medication for any of it. Maybe that's why she did what she did, because she really was unstable. That had to be terrifying for Layla and you. I nod. It was. He then reveals to Willow that after Sable shot Layla and him, he grabbed the gun and shot Sable back, and now he feels guilty for ending her life. Willow comforts him, saying that it's not his fault that he got pushed to that point when Sable was the one who escalated the situation by bringing a gun and being obsessive and having a fan club before they even met in the first place. Then Leeds is like, wait a minute, I never told Layla or Willow that Sable had a fan club. How does Willow know that? So then he asks her, why does she call herself Willow? To which she replies that when he had asked her what her name was, she didn't have one, so she made it up. And now he's freaking out. He's like, oh my god, Willow is actually the ghost of Sable. I'm responsible for her death, and that's why she's here. He asks Willow, how did you know that Sable had a fan club? And then she immediately starts to look very guilty, and that's enough of an answer for him. And he says, get out of Layla right now. Willow's like, wait, you don't understand. That wasn't my memory. That was Layla's. And he's like, I never told Layla that. She wouldn't have that memory. Only Sable would know that. I want Willow out of Layla, and I don't even care if she does it while Layla isn't in the bed. I don't care if Layla is terrified when she opens her eyes and doesn't remember standing up. I plan on leaving with Layla tonight anyway. I need to get her as far away from Willow as possible. I want to take this moment to point out that him finally wanting Willow to not possess Layla's body without her consent isn't to take care of Layla. He's just pissed off at getting tricked by his crazy ex-girlfriend. He doesn't care that he's been lying to Layla. He cares that he got lied to. So while he's packing his stuff, Willow tells him that even if she was Sable in a past life, she is not her now, and she could never do what Sable did to him and Layla. She doesn't know how many memories from Sable that she has, but that's why it's been so chaotic inside of Layla's head, because there are two versions of everything, and she doesn't know which ones are Layla's memories and which ones are Sable's. Leeds tells her again to get out of Layla, and Willow says she's so sorry before finally leaving, which we can tell when Layla suddenly screams. She looks around the kitchen and she's like, what is happening? Leeds, what is happening to me? He's like, we need to leave right now. There's nothing wrong with you, Layla. It is this house. I've packed our stuff. We need to get get out. So they get halfway to the car before Willow takes over again and says, listen, if I was in Sable in a past life, there's a reason why I'm here. So why is Sable stuck here? Maybe she needs your forgiveness, or maybe you need hers? I don't know. But if we leave, we will never figure that out, and you will go the rest of your life knowing that ghosts exist, and you might be the reason why one of them is stuck here. This is gonna follow us forever, both of us. I wasn't lying to you earlier. I just didn't know what was going on. But I don't have memories at all when I'm not inside Layla's head. I don't know why I'm here, but I'm here, and wherever this is, I don't feel like an evil person. I feel good and I feel honest. I am not whoever Sable was in her life. I feel like me, like Willow. I'm the girl you've been watching movies with and eating leftovers with and spending time with. I'm the girl you kissed on that bed last night. Me, not Sable, not Layla, Willow. Despite the conflicting emotions, he can't help but feel bad for her, and so he decides to stay and get that random internet guy to help. But they know Layla is not going to stay here willingly after tonight. So they return to the house and sleep together, and in the middle of the night, Layla wakes up and shakes Leeds and is like, something is wrong with me. We need to get out of here. And Leeds tells her that she just had a bad dream, and she's like, I'm not dreaming. He's like, it's okay, Layla, I'm here. And then he tries to hug her, but she pushes him off and is like, you know it's not okay. You were there earlier and you were trying to leave too. What is happening? Am I going crazy? He doesn't say anything back because he thinks maybe it's better if she assumes she's going crazy. The truth would be too hard for her to accept. But is it right to let her think she's losing her sanity? Who knows? We've already crossed a bunch of lines of morality at this point. So Layla rushes to the kitchen and takes out a butcher knife and is like, let me leave. He tells her, I can't let you leave. And she realizes whatever is going on, he is not on her side. So she lunges at the knife until Willow takes over, and they decide to lock Layla in the bedroom and tie her to the bed so that she doesn't escape through the windows. Before they do that, they decide to record a video on his phone for Layla to watch, where he tells the camera that there's someone in the house, and he points at Willow inside Layla's body, and he asks her what's her name. Willow, she says. Are you a danger to Layla? No. Am I a danger to Layla? Willow shakes her head. No. Am I holding Layla against her will? No, she says. But I am, just for another day. Willow looks at the camera. Then it'll be over, Layla. Please don't be upset with Leeds for this. It's out of his control. What will happen if Layla tries to escape? I ask her. You can't escape, Layla. It's better to just wait this out as calmly as you can. But of course that doesn't happen, because later when Layla wakes up tied to the bed, she is obviously petrified. Leeds plays a video for her, and that freaks her out even more. And for the next day and a half, she screams until her voice is hoarse, and she is convinced that Leeds had drugged her and forced her to say things that she doesn't remember saying. Later on, the detective shows up and reveals that he is actually a spirit as well. He just took over some random guy's body to show up to this meeting. Now we're here to present day, where Leeds is talking to the detective who is actually a spirit. The detective wants to do an experiment where he asks Willow to go into Leeds' body and see what memories she can access from here. Leeds gives her permission to do so, and the next time he is back or wakes up or whatever, he sees the recording of Willow answering questions in his own body. The detective or ghost or whatever he is asked to see Layla's medical records, where they see that she had to be resuscitated after she was shot. Once before paramedics got to her into the ambulance, and again at the hospital. And so when we think about Sable's death, dying from bullet wounds is usually the result of excessive blood loss. So it probably took Sable several minutes to die after Leeds shot her. In that same time frame, Layla also flatlined. So the internet guy realizes that there were two souls in the same room that left two bodies at the same time, which means when Layla's body was revived by paramedics, the wrong soul entered that body. When Willow is inside of Layla, she can remember things from both Sable's and Layla's points of view. But when she was inside you, she could only remember things from yours and Layla's points of view. Sable's memories didn't move with her into your body. The reason it's hard for your girlfriend to remember things isn't because of memory loss. It's because they aren't her memories. She has to search for them, and even then, she can only pull up a memory when it's prompted. The only logical explanation for this would be that the soul who has been walking around inside Layla's body since the night of the shooting is not Layla. Basically, Sable's soul is inside Layla's body, and Layla's soul has been stuck at the bed and breakfast because she doesn't have a home and went for another place that has some meaning to her during her life. Her soul was essentially displaced. She doesn't have memories because she has no body or brain to attach them to, but she still has her own feelings. The detective also says maybe Sable's soul went into Layla's body because in that moment it was where it wished it belonged. wrongs because Sable had wanted what Layla had. This is why Leeds fell out of love with Layla after the accident, because she wasn't the Layla that he fell in love with when he met her. It wasn't because he's a piece of shit. It's actually because his crazy ex-girlfriend took over. She was a completely different person. Her entire personality changed. The way I felt about her changed. And now that I'm looking back on it, there are even similarities between the Layla who woke up from the surgery and the Sable I dated. Sable had bulimia. Layla became obsessed with her weight after surgery. Sable was obsessed with social media and ... me. Layla became obsessed with building my platform. Sable suffered from a number of mental illnesses, and the more days that passed after Layla's surgery, it seemed like Layla was starting to suffer from those same mental illnesses. Phew! Thank God the girl I fell in love with isn't actually crazy, and I don't have to deal with her eating disorder and mental illness. It was just the ghost of my ex-girlfriend haunting me. My girlfriend isn't actually crazy. Yay! I've had this constant hollow feeling inside me since that night, and for so long I felt guilty for feeling that way, for feeling like I lost her when she was still right in front of me. I even felt guilty for the way Willow reminded me of her. That guilt is gone now. I feel justified. Every choice I made, ... every feeling Willow filled me with, ... it was all justified because my soul was already in love with hers. It's why I felt an inexplicable pull to this place, to Willow. Even when I thought Willow was Sable, I still felt that pull, and it confused me. It all makes sense now. Wow, isn't it such a relief that all this time when you were lying and gaslighting and letting another person take over your girlfriend's body without her consent, you weren't actually cheating on her and doing that even though you believed at the time that you were? It's almost like that absolves everything because it didn't actually happen. Hooray, no accountability! This is truly the best case scenario for every cheater out there. What a huge relief to no longer be a bad person. If I ever cheat on someone, I'm just gonna tell them that I thought that their soul was trapped somewhere else. So the detective is now like, well, my job here is done, and he starts to leave. And Lisa's like, wait, how are we supposed to switch them out? And the detective is like, I don't know, I was here to find answers, not solutions. You can't get Sable out of Layla's body until she dies, but when that happens, they'll both be dead. Sorry this happened to you guys, but you're just gonna have to figure out a way to live like this until the three of you can move on for good. He turns his truck around in the driveway. We watch him in silence until he's gone, until it's just the two of us. He really was just here to give us answers, nothing more and nothing less. Don't you just love it when a story tells you straight up the only reason why a character exists in the book, and that's functionally only to give information to the narrative and that's it? I know, I sure do. So now that they know the truth, they spend the next hour in this emotionally charged reunion, kissing and hugging and reveling in the knowledge that their love has transcended realms. But unfortunately, they also gotta figure out a solution. So the first thing that they do is have the real Layla leave her body so that Sable gets access back to it and Leeds can tell her that she is actually Sable. This news does not go over well at all. Sable is like, you're crazy. Get me the hell out of here so I can call the police. Why did you punch the bathroom mirror when we got here? Do you see Sable's face sometimes when you look in the mirror? Of course I see her face sometimes. She shot me, Leeds. I have PTSD. You don't have PTSD. It's an actual memory. Man, it must be such a relief for Leeds to realize that he doesn't have to deal with his girlfriend's PTSD anymore because the PTSD was never real. Thank God. The real Layla tells Leeds that the only way to fix this is for him to kill her and bring her back. If she can flatline long enough for Sable's soul to leave her body, then maybe her soul can take back over before he brings her back. Leeds is resistant to this idea, but Layla says they can't live this way forever, especially her, because she's miserable. So over the next 2 days, Layla plans out her death. Unfortunately, Aspen and Chad Kyle are also supposed to come visit them again. Layla has to take over her body and wear long sleeve shirts to cover her wrists being bandaged up. Despite covering up, Aspen does notice that Layla looks tired and has lost a lot of weight. During their dinner outside in the patio, Lee sees Layla laughing with her sister, and then he comes to a realization. It hits me as I'm sitting here why Layla is willing to risk her life in order to get her life back. It's because she doesn't have a life at all while she's stuck in this house at Sable's mercy. And I'm like, yeah, I thought we all knew that was the primary motivation. Layla can't have any life of her own as a spirit stuck to a house with nothing else going on. She has a family, she has her sister. Why the hell did it take you this long to figure that out? I thought that would automatically be implied, especially on account of you being her boyfriend and supposedly loving her so much. It's not like she's doing all this shit for your sake so you can be with her. She misses the rest of her life too. So I'm just like, damn, we are near the end of this book and this guy is still a dumbass. Later on, at the pool, Layla has her back turned to it and she doesn't notice that Chad Kyle jumps behind her and makes a huge splash in the pool. This startles her and makes her slip out of her body and Sable takes over. Leeds realizes what's happening as as Sable reorients herself, trying to figure out how she went from being tied up in bed to being outside. He tries to go over to Sable, but she backs away and says, "Don't you dare try to come near me." Aspen is like, "Layla, what's wrong?" Sable points at Leeds and says, "He's drugging me. He won't let me leave. He keeps me tied up." And she pulls her sleeves down and reveals the bandages on her wrist. Leeds lunges towards her to try to stop her at the same time that Layla comes back inside her body, so he's holding her while Layla knows some shit just happened and they are in deep trouble. At this point, Aspen is like, "What do you mean he's drugging you?" She pushes herself between them and Layla's like, just kidding? I'm not even joking. This is literally what she says. Just ... Kidding? Layla says, completely unconvincing. What? Aspen says. Chad is sloshing over to us now. What's going on? Aspen points at Layla. She ... She just said Leeds is drugging her and keeping her tied up. I was kidding, Layla says. Aspen is like, "I don't think this is a joke. Show me your wrist again." Layla pulls her hands away and is like, "No, it was an inside joke. I know that was weird. I'm sorry. I do things I can't explain sometimes because of the brain injury. I thought it would be a funny joke, but it fell flat." Aspen studies her sister's face, looking for a sign and trying to make sense of it, and she and Chad Kyle leave the patio to just take a beat. Layla uses this time to tell Leeds that they need to kill Layla tonight because this needs to stop, and drowning in the pool would be the easiest way. They would have to time it perfectly so that her heart stops before he resuscitates her. Leeds says that he doesn't know how to do CPR, and Layla says Aspen is a nurse, so she can help, and they can play it off like it's an accident, so as soon as Layla's heart stops beating, he can yell for Aspen. So over the next 2 hours, they prepare for Layla's drowning. She even writes instructions and makes Leeds study them like this is some fucking college exam. She also types a suicide note as an email to everyone that she knows and schedules it to send in 4 hours from now. That way, if the plan doesn't work, he won't take the fall and can let the email send, but if the plan does work, they can delete it. They go to the pool. Layla lets Sable take over because it will be better if she's scared and confused when her heart stops, while Layla will be alert and ready to take over when it's time. Leeds has to shove her under the pool and hold her down and not let her up for air no matter how scared or guilty he feels. So the drowning happens while Sable is in Layla's body, screaming and thrashing underwater, and Leeds is holding her down, and it takes 118 very long seconds before she finally stops fighting him off and goes unconscious. Leeds pulls her out and screams for Aspen. He calls 911 and tries to administer CPR the way that Layla showed him how to do it. Aspen and Chad Kyle come rushing in to help, and they only have 5 minutes to save her life before she's gone for good. However, the ambulance says that they are 8 minutes away. Leeds carries her to the car so that they can meet up at the ambulance, and as she finally gets pulled inside the gurney and inside the car, Aspen pushes him out from joining them in the ambulance and says, "Stay the fuck away from my sister." The car speeds away, leaving him behind, and he has to meet up with Aspen later at the hospital. In the waiting room, Aspen interrogates him and says, "What was Layla doing in the pool? Why was she in the water?" And he says, "I don't know, but I didn't do this to her." But Aspen knows that he's lying, especially when she notices his arms have scratch marks with fresh blood. So she goes hysterical while Chad Kyle tries to hold her back as she screams, "Why? Why did you do this to my sister?" The doctor then comes out saying Layla is asking for him. And so he comes in and he sees Layla again, and he's so afraid that it didn't work and maybe Sable is still back in her. Then Layla says, "Do you know what you look like right now? You look like you're dying inside," which is a reference to the first thing that Layla had told him when they first met. And so this is a huge relief to know that their plan worked. They hug each other and kiss, and they live happily ever after. And we never know what happened to Sable's spirit after this, but who the fuck cares about her, because she's the crazy ex-girlfriend, right? In the epilogue of this book, it is revealed that they never went back to the bed and breakfast ever again or the apartment in Tennessee. When Layla is released from the hospital, they actually drove straight to the airport and took the next available flight, which is in Montana. This is a place that they've never been before, but this is truly like a fresh start. And so they stay in a hotel for a few weeks until they close on a house. And as they're enjoying their new life together, the book ends with Layla playing music, which is, of course, Leeds singing, because that is her favorite. The end. Yay! In conclusion of this book and in this video, I do think that This story was a unique approach to, the traditional haunted house narrative. However, I do think the story would have been better if the real horror had been being with a man who goes at great lengths to justify not being in love with someone anymore once they show that they have trauma or illness and have to be taken care of. Because even though the story and the twists that happened are fun for like a thriller kind of story, it doesn't quite work for me because of the real life implications. We don't live in a vacuum, so when stories parallel certain issues in the real world but they don't get addressed, it personally falls flat for me. There are statistics out there that say that men are 6 times more likely to leave their spouse when she has cancer. So there have been patterns of people struggling to be in the role of a caretaker, and this happens more frequently to men than it does the other way around. In fact, it happens so frequently that there are stories from cancer survivors who have had their nurse ask questions about their husband just to gauge if he's going to leave them. And there are support groups for survivors where several women have had husbands leave them after diagnosis. So we can have all kinds of theories for why this happens. Mine is that I think a large part of straight marriages is the expectation that the woman has to be the caretaker. And so when the dynamic is disrupted, the relationship no longer works if the man is not willing to step up. Even outside of marriage, I also think in general, when you get into a relationship, you often show the best parts of yourself in the beginning, and that relationship doesn't get challenged until other parts of both people come to life. Your trauma, your flaws, your whatever. So a lot of times we have people being like, man, she used to be such a chill girl in the beginning, but now she's so moody and miserable. And it's hard for them to reconcile with someone's full humanity. I absolutely think Leeds is that type of person, especially when you see how hard he fell for Layla so quickly and how he saw Layla as this quirky and sexy and spontaneous and fun girl. They dove into the relationship so fast, and even if the ghost thing didn't happen, she would have changed to some degree after suffering a traumatic near-death experience. She would have needed to be taken care of, and maybe she would have lashed out or would have been moody or whatever. Like these things happen when you go through something terrible like that. So him doing what he does throughout the book, I'm not against it as a reader because I do think a lot of people in real life are like that, and I'm fine with reading an unlikable character. I just don't think it's satisfying when they are absolved of their actions and the narrative frames them as a victim the whole time. That's why I think it would have been a better story if maybe he had believed the whole ghost thing and then he had to come to terms with the fact that he would rather believe a whole made-up story or some paranormal effect going on than take accountability. And then maybe all the previous times that he was saying his ex-girlfriend is crazy, that was a distorted narrative that he was telling to himself and gaslighting his own self by giving a story that doesn't acknowledge her humanity in the same way that maybe he never acknowledged the humanity of his ex-girlfriend and only called her crazy. That's how I personally would have approached it, but obviously Colleen Hoover had different intentions, and that's fine because I do think it was still an entertaining story. That's why I made a video about it, and that's why you've stuck around till the end of this video. Joke's on me for wanting to prescribe a deeper meaning to it, I guess. But hey, it's okay, because at the end of the day, Colleen Hoover got her coin, and so did I. That's right, you guys. Don't forget to use my code CindyAdvent to get your 12-day gift set from Lovehoney. So thank you again for sponsoring this roller coaster of a video, and thank you for sticking around to the very end. I can't wait to hear what you have to say about this book in the comment section. I hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the book, and I will see you next time for more shenanigans on my YouTube channel. Goodbye!